Oh, will you look at that? It's the Switch 2's very first holiday season. Well, we've scoured through every single eShop discount to find deals on next-gen exclusives and even a few last-gen titles with secret performance improvements. And of course, a smorgasbord of OG Switch games at all-time low prices. If you've never played a Yakuza game before and you've got yourself a fancy new Nintendo Switch 2, congratulations! You've got yourself an opportunity to take a trip through time and space and witness the absolute era of excess that was Japan in the 1980s. Yakuza 0 was such a critical success in the West, it gave the franchise a second life here. Throw fists, party the night away, and experience the perfect narrative snack that is the Yakuza sub-story. A great Switch 2 launch title. Ni no Kuni 2 on Switch was an okay port that didn't always give the most consistent frame rate. But what happens when you boot that same game on Switch 2? You guessed it, the raw horsepower takes that wobbly performance and turns it into a solid 60 frames per second experience. And the Prince's Edition collects all that post-launch content. Heck, it's worth the $10 alone just to listen to that soundtrack. If you're watching this video, it seems improbable that you don't already own Skyrim on at least one platform. But when was the last time you actually booted a new game and took that long trek of the Dragonborn? Even all these years later, every encounter and side mission has that spark of spontaneity. And if you somehow missed The Elder Scrolls V, you owe it to yourself to play this modern touchstone. Far less remembered is Kingdoms of Amalur, a would-be franchise with such a complicated backstory its implosion is legendary in game development, banking, and sports. But the craziest part? Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was actually a fantastic open-world RPG with a surprising action combat twist. Now, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning does have some issues on Switch too, so be aware of that or play on the OG Switch. Disney Dreamlight Valley has been around for a few years, and in that time it's been built out through downloadable content packs. Last time we talked about this mashup of Animal Crossing and Disney, it was a higher priced edition. But if you just want to get your feet wet, you can play this core game for only $28. That's 30% knocked off, allowing you to make friends with Donald Duck for cheap. Alright party players, if you've got a group, then have a peek at Moving Out 2 Deluxe Edition. Up to 4 players work together to, well, move out. It's not the most exciting idea, right? Well, guess again, because you'll be waddling carefully over-encumbered while being surrounded by fantastical scenarios and dangers. It's that exact kind of silly but balanced gameplay that makes it a hit with kids and adults. This next one requires a smidge of information. Yes, there is a Switch 2 version of Overcooked 2, but many players are stuck with Overcooked All You Can Eat, which includes Overcooked 2 and Part 1 and their DLC and extra content. It's a great multiplayer cooking game with all sort of chaotic fun. It might not have the game chat feature or improved visuals, but for local play, you're getting a heck of a lot more bang for your buck. Super Monkey Ball is among one of the best multiplayer franchises ever, but ironically that was only with regards to a series of smaller mini-games as the core mode of balanced puzzle gameplay was left single-player. Well, this Banana Rumble allows up to 2 players to bounce and smack each other away while navigating awkward platforms. And yes, you're still getting a smattering of 4-player mini-games for only $20. It's a deal worth going ape for. Normally, the Capcom Fighting Collection is priced at $40 alone, but for a whole dollar less, you'll get that 2025 package of classic games and the first one. We're talking both Capcom vs. SNK games, both Power Stones, multiple Street Fighters, Puzzle Fighters, Darkstalkers, on top of even deeper cuts like my favorite Project Justice. Button mashers and technical players will have countless hours of top-notch battles here. It seems no matter how complex Capcom gets, the true crown of skill-based play belongs to SNK. But that doesn't mean they don't know how to have fun. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy is a great beginner's course for 2D fighters and a bit of cheesecake for hardcore fans. And true to SNK, they refuse to leave any character off the table, gender swapping their roster to fit the theme. Shadows of the Damned is that rare action game that successfully nails a sense of humor while also being a great shooter with sound mechanics and design innovation. That's probably because it was directed by Massimo Garino while being produced by No More Heroes creator Suda51 and Resident Evil 4 director Shinji Mikami. You play as a demon hunter climbing down to hell to defeat the Lord of the Underworld, save your girlfriend, and look cool doing it. As time goes on, it's a little questionable if we'll ever see a real conclusion to the story built up in Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. But that shouldn't take away from how incredible this insane alt-history adventure is. You're firing both barrels against the Axis Empire, including their adventures into space. Yes, you heard that right, space. You can also choose to go stealth, but come on, with this many ballistics, who has time to be sneaky? Clearly, someone over at id made a deal with the devil because Doom Eternal still plays like a dream on the original Switch. Wolfenstein 2 is extremely challenging at points, but Doom Eternal demands a level of multitasking management usually reserved for puzzle and strategy games. But instead of happy characters and bright colors, you're getting tons of crimson-soaked weapons and burnt demons. A great mix of twitch reflexes and gray matter. One of the very best action exclusives on Switch now has a sizable 30% discount. Bayonetta 3 is the last main entry in the series so far and combines guns, witchcraft, and dance club music into one of the best beat-em-ups of recent years, which really shouldn't be too much of a surprise considering this was made by the pure action powerhouse Platinum Games. This is once again the lowest price we've seen for 3 on the eShop, so it might be time to pull that heel trigger. Sonic the Hedgehog, for those not aware, has got to go fast. But when Sonic Frontiers launched on the original Switch, its frame rate could fall well below its cap. But with the Switch 2, you'll see a consistent 30 frames per second as you smash and dash your way through Starfall Islands to prevent Dr. Eggman's latest attempt to acquire the Chaos Emeralds. It's the classic Sonic momentum now with much more open and explorable environments. But if you're looking for the blue blur in a more traditional setting, give a peek at Sonic Colors Ultimate. Again, this game is capped at 30, but with the Switch 2 you'll get a consistent performance and much faster loading than the original Switch. And yes, if you're aware of its launch state, those issues have been fixed. It's been 15 years since the original game launched, making this an excellent slice of Wii-era nostalgia. Crash Bandicoot may have gotten all the attention, but from a gameplay and design perspective, Spyro was always the better platformer, mostly because it arrived after the 3D platformer's wrinkles had been ironed out. Heck, the Spyro Reignited trilogy shows just how well structured the environments and movement mechanics are. And if you didn't know about their PlayStation 1 roots, would you even really notice? That's what makes them timeless classics. Okay, so Rain World has a bit of a mixed reputation, and for good reason. The graphics are incredible and fluid, but the platforming gameplay is soul-crushingly difficult. But this isn't really a flaw, at least not an objective error. This is a creative choice that has pushed some players completely off and left a smaller group singing its praises. It's a bit of a risk on your part, but with 55% off, you can find out if this is your kind of cult classic. Speaking of platformers that make you feel all sorts of weird, we've got the Little Nightmares 1 and 2 bundle. This one is far more universally appreciated, but that doesn't mean it's any more inviting. You'll be thrown into some highly distressing scenarios attempting to uncover the requirements to progress, or in this case, escape to the next area. And you know what's waiting for you there? Even more creepy stuff. Yeesh. In case you didn't notice, some Sony properties have made their way from the PlayStation to the Nintendo Switch. While the core Horizon series is still locked as a console exclusive, LEGO Horizon Adventures is down to $20. This spin-off has players take control of an adorable blocky version of Aloy as she does battle with the robotic dinosaurs of Earth. But most surprisingly, it's a very unique take on the isometric dungeon crawler, which is neither like LEGO or Horizon. Go figure. Just because a game is two-dimensional doesn't mean it's flat. Case in point, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown returned the franchise to its 2D roots but branched out into the Metroidvania genre. This time out, you won't be playing as the prince but the far more combat-capable Sargon, which means you'll be facing off against some complex enemies and bosses. If you're a longtime fan or this is your first time playing a Prince of Persia game, this is sure to offer you something you haven't seen before. Castlevania Dominus Collection has been a long time coming, and for good reason. Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia were originally released on the Nintendo DS, which of course had 2 screens including a touchscreen requiring a little more post-development for this port. In my personal opinion, this is all thriller, no filler Castlevania, and sadly the close of an era for this franchise. This trilogy holds up strongly against modern Metroidvanias. Shinobi Art of Vengeance launched this August and it's already been sliced by 30%. This is a real throwback to the glory days of Sega in the arcade and the 16-bit generation, and that means it's got no time to hold your hand, instead hurling players into difficulty spike after difficulty spike. But like those classic games, stick with it and you'll find those same bruise-knuckle bosses a breeze as you build the skills to get the kills. Speaking of classic video game gore, Blasphemous 2 feels like a lost pixel art edgelord 90s Metroidvania, except this sorrow stems from true spiritual introspection and religious guilt. Most games tend to avoid these sorts of gloomy moods, but Blasphemous, by its very name, grabs it with both gauntlets, braiding some of the more torturous dissections of post-doctrine writings this way of Dante. For less than $10, you can enter the haze of melancholy. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is another fantastic game that was trapped on the Nintendo DS for far too long. You play as a dead guy, but it's not all bad. You can use the magic of the ghost world to retrace your steps to solve your own murder. Or at least you try to. After all, the protagonist isn't exactly the sharpest hammer. And the broad spectrum of ghost powers means he'll need to work harder than he ever did in his life to set things right. Ape Out is $2, that's about $1 per hour of gameplay, but let me tell you, this silly game all about an ape on the loose has a lot more going on in its presentation. The audio collides drum tempos to create a sort of interactive soundtrack, not just a compliment for the gameplay, but with key information from the chaos. Plus, you get to play as an incensed ape. How many games let you do that? Let's take the mayhem down a notch with Dofremontique, a real Zen-like puzzle game that doesn't require fast reflexes, lore comprehension, or online play. Just a happy little town that you help put together, and no, you don't need to worry about building, just keep flipping the shapes and make the world a brighter place. 25% off takes the stress down even further to less than $12 on the eShop. Surprisingly, one of the best games on the Switch 2 is one of the worst ports on the Switch 1. The XCOM 2 collection has everything players would want, but the load times were slow and the frame rate was consistently low. Well, I can say firsthand this uncapped game on Switch 2 is fixed purely from the hardware, with only slight dips in frame rates in between picking actions. Heck, this might be the best console version of XCOM ever! Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle still feels like a game that really shouldn't exist. Those crazy Rabbids invade the Mushroom Kingdom and team up with Mario in the game. When you've got that level of video game royalty, it's automatically worth a look. And sorry Rabbids, I don't mean you. If turn-based strategy is your jam, this quirky take on the genre is down to the extra low price of $10. I just want to be upfront, I'm not much for Picross, so I can't really speak to the quality of the multiple Picross games currently on sale at the eShop. But you know what I can say? This is one of the longest running video game franchises thanks in large part to its passionate base back in Japan. It's so prolific you'll find several titles at a discount including this Namco-themed edition for less than $8. Burnout Paradise Remastered is a bit of an exaggeration. The remaster itself could be better described as a port, but when the gameplay is this good, you really won't mind. This marks the end of the classic Burnout series, and it still holds up as an open-world racer even if you're unfamiliar with this legendary franchise. So drop in, swerve through traffic, build up that burn meter, and show those billboards who's boss. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 might be generations old on paper, but the actual content has been revamped to make it feel just like you remember. Well, almost. Tony Hawk 4 has been redesigned to fit in line with the old-school challenge format from the first trilogy. If you found that open-world style of gameplay off-putting, give this new version a try. Alright, so Madden NFL 26 is okay on Switch 2. Not as good as any of the other platforms, thereby making this the worst way to play this year's football, but you know what? I think if you know what you're getting into and can accept the limitations, half off is a pretty good starting point. If you're not too picky about frame rates and are just looking for something to play during halftime, it's a fairly good deal. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, but how about chat back about what you bought or what you would recommend in the comments? Keep clicking around here at GameRant.com, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks everybody!